Well, 0-2. Just what we thought, right? Oh, jerk. And we're back!
We're back, baby.
Welcome to show 166 of the Pucknologists. Oh, Teal Town, USA. Once again, every Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Welcome back to the unfiltered, unedited, uncensored, commercial-free Sharks podcast that is us. This time around, of course, a couple takeaways from some games in Prague, expectations for the 22-23 season, some other tidbits. I'm not saying Ian Cole at this time, but we'll see what happens. I don't know that I want to say anything about it, to be quite honest. But first, if you're new to the podcast, remember to subscribe, follow us on that social media, and if you'd like to support the content we deliver here, you can keep us commercial-free by donating using the Super Chat option during live shows or using Venmo, where you can find us at Teal Town, USA. And remember, if you don't watch us or join us live on YouTube, make sure to add your take in the comments section below the video. And while you're here, hey, give it a thumbs up and a little like, what's going on? All right? Cool. So here we are, man. Been a while. Been a minute.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, been a while.
In fact,
since we've been together.
It's been so long. Can I do a little something?
Yeah, for sure.
You ready for it?
I think so.
This is going to be a little ASMR just for you.
Okay. Ooh, very nice. Look at that.
God,
back on your soda drinking bullshit.
Mm-hmm. And we're back, baby.
let me guess. Let me guess. I think I can envision it. Okay. You're with the wife. You're at Costco.
Nope, already gone. Nope.
Really?
Safeway. Buy two, get two free.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do it. So she got a couple diets, and I got a couple regulars. So
man. It's like spring 2020 all over again.
Oh, it feels so good. You're gonna keep me awake. All right, let's go. Sharks played 2 games in Prague. We know 0-2. That means they have 0 points right now. Oh, it's amazing. The only team in the NHL right now without a win. Sad.
Hell yeah.
But the Sharks went 5-1 during the preseason, so all is well. You know, plan the parade.
Yep.
Hey, where were we supposed to find Global Series swag anyway? Did you have to go to Prague for that?
So funny that you say that. So I've narrowed it down to 2 sort of options. Number one,
eBay accounts.
So actually, okay, technically 3, but the eBay one, not getting involved there. So your option number 1 is know somebody who's part of the community. Shout out to Skylar for coming through. He picked up a couple little things.
Nice.
Yeah, so shout out to Skylar. The other, and unfortunately, one of those little things was not a Global Series branded puck, which, kind of unfortunate. The event itself didn't have it. The store at the tank didn't have it. NHL.com didn't have it. Fanatics.com didn't have it. Sharks Pro Shop didn't have it. So knowing a thing or two about a thing or two, I was like, what if I went straight to the manufacturer? And I did. And I got the Global Series Challenge game puck, the Global Series game puck, and then the souvenir puck Sharks Predators, and then the souvenir puck Sharks Berlin Polar Bears. So
I just like that the direct route that those guys want to make money. Everybody else,
I'm just saying, you know
really.
what? All else fails, go to the manufacturer.
I feel you.
Chances are you'll get it, if not a deep discount below MSRP, slightly, but still, Yeah. And I already turned a couple of people onto that, and so, hopefully they get the tchotchkes their heart desires.
Well, we wouldn't be back if we didn't have 21 pucks ripping me a new one. It's the way it happens. Up yours, AJ. Jerk, you're a good guy. There you go.
We love 21 pucks in this house.
Absolutely. Dude, he's very much kind of I feel as if, I think it was a Britney Spears video, but there was a beginning of a video where she's at a press conference and she's like had it. And she's like looking at different people and she's like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you, I'm out. right? And I feel like I am the inversion of that. Like, look at Ian, you're cool. Look at Jerk, you're cool. Puck Guy, you're cool. AJ, fuck you. Look at Dana, you're cool. You know, like that's. I feel the love is what I'm trying to say.
So you're the brunt of the meme then.
I got big shoulders. It's okay.
See, you know, you know what? You mentioned Britney Spears, and this, you know, this is a Sharks podcast, so I'm going to do my turn at bringing it to San Jose. If I were to think of Britney Spears and the Sharks in the same sort of thought, there was a concert she had at the Tank. I don't even know. 14 years ago, 13, 14, 15 years ago, that ballpark at the Tank, as you know, is in downtown San Jose, and allegedly said, "What's up, Sacramento?" So,
somebody forgot to paste the new city on the monitor.
Yeah, ouch. So you know that you had your Britney Spears story. There's mine.
Nice.
Totally relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way it all comes back to the Sharks.
You know, it was at the Tank, so
fair game. All right. 2 games in Prague, 4-1 loss, 3-2 loss. Where to start? Barabanov, Nudavara don't make the trip. It's tough to, start off the season when your top-line winger or projected top-line winger and your top pairing, you know, the guy who's supposed to be with Erik Karlsson out to start the first 2 games. You got Quinn breaking out the blender a little early. What were your takeaways from this weekend? I mean, aside from, you know, the pomp and circumstance of it all, which was great. You know, you see Hurdle out there taking a puck draw. Yager doing the second one with Shimmick out there, first and last draw he'll ever take.
You know what? I thought it was really cool, and I was trying to. It's funny. I was talking to my fiance, and I was like trying to explain to her, like, you know,
who Jaromir Jagr is?
No, not even that. Just, you know, the regular season starting early, because the Sharks are in Europe. They're playing Nashville. It's at earlier in the day, blah, 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 trying to get through the whole thing. And she was like, oh, like, so is this kind of like a once in a lifetime thing? And I'm like, well, technically it's 3 times in a lifetime. You know, the Sharks have obviously done this twice before. But still, even though they've done it before, obviously 98 in Japan, 2010 in Sweden, still really cool. You know what I mean? And like, sucks obviously that they lost both games. But just getting to like participate in something like a big NHL event, especially when your best player or one of your best players is from, forget the host country, from the host city. Like, I just thought that was really cool. And honestly, like, we want the Sharks to, I mean, I know this year is kind of like, oh, the tank year, but like ultimately we want the Sharks to be a good team, right? But
at least entertaining to watch. Like, if you're gonna lose, do it with flair.
Right. And you know what? I feel I didn't find myself too concerned with the score over the weekend. It was more so like, yeah, like, this is cool, you know, getting to participate in something like this and sort of get like exposure, right? You know, you hear about how many people like in, say, non-traditional markets who are young kids and become Sharks fans because they think the Sharks logo is cool, right? And so I'm always like, how many German and Czech children get to have that same experience? You know what I mean? Yeah,
and we're doing this again later, right? Colorado and some other team playing in Finland?
Colorado, or I believe it's Colorado and Columbus. Yeah, they're going to be in Finland. I want to say it's at the very beginning of November. And with those kinds of things, obviously you always look and you see, okay, you know, who's the, you know, what really good player do you have that's from that country? You know, that's kind of how it's picked out.
Well, I think it also helps too to have the Stanley Cup winner involved.
Totally. But yeah, Colorado and Columbus, it's going to be in Finland. I want to say it's at the beginning of November.
Cool.
November 4th and 5th. And so, you know, stuff like that. I know, like, I feel like the NHL, rightfully, they get a lot of crap, but their special events, I think they do a pretty good job at putting them on.
All right. So from the actual game, for me, it was kind of much the same. Like, we can sit here and go, new era, new jerseys, new scoreboard, new this, new coaching staff, new front office, new blah, 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 blah. And largely this was an extension of last season. Just, you know, crappy power play. They're 0 for 4 in the first game, 1 for 4 in the second. But the PK, just like last season, can't score on it. It's solid, still 100%. To be fair, one of Nashville's power play was 4 seconds, but
Yep.
when it comes to special teams, I did think the power play was, I don't know if more creative is the right word, maybe a bit more aggressive. Definitely didn't seem like the power play of last season, but, it all comes down to, did you score? The results were the same.
Right. It seemed like the power play, once they sort of got through the motion of realizing that they were in a regular season game, I thought the power play actually had quite a bit of jump to it. Early on, I thought maybe they were passing the puck just a little bit too much, but eventually, they got to a point where they were moving the puck in a way that was forcing the Nashville players to have to chase a little bit, which is obviously what you want. And yeah, the power play, rather, as you said, was not very good. Only 1 for 4 on Saturday, 0 for 4 on Friday, but I think there's a good foundation there. It seems like they have more kind of oomph to their game. You know what I mean? They can move the puck, they can get chances, they can crash guys at the net and that kind of stuff. And having a really good power play, like, that's maybe that's the Sharks' Stanley Cup this year. Something they want to work on, and if they can make it better.
Does that mean Carlson's playing 2 minutes every power play?
I mean, honestly, I support it.
I was going to say, I don't know. Can Ferraro up that game? He was talking about in the offseason adding offense to his repertoire.
Right, but let's also think about it like this. Think about what we know about Erik Karlsson, right? When is, like, think about the time during a hockey game when you're least likely to have contact put on you. It's when you're in the offensive zone on the power play.
True that. Solid point.
I think limit his 5 versus 5. Well, 5 versus 5 is fine. Limit his penalty kill time. Go, pedal to the floor on power play time. And, that's the thing. Like, I know we're getting way ahead of things here, but like Erik Karlsson, like, you want him to get points. Don't have him spend his minute, a good chunk of his minutes per game on the penalty kill, right?
Completely agree. Even though he will tell you, which he did, so post, some pressers. Good. Oh yeah, I enjoy playing it. I'm good at it. Whether you guys see that or not, okay, sure.
Whatever you say.
Yeah. Well, but Alex in the chat, I like this. Can we get this up? EK65 is the best defenseman on this team. That's all I wanted to say. Okay.
You know what, though?
Dude,
the way the roster is currently constructed, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, dude, when you park a Camaro in a lot filled with 1978 Pintos, yeah that Camaro is going to be the best car in the group.
Yeah. And you know what? He's obviously, the personnel around him is obviously not great, and I know you've already taken my words to be a larger talking point here later on in the show, but this defense unit as a whole is not very good, and so Karlsson and Ferraro specifically, and to a lesser extent Vlasic, are going to be relied on a lot, and because whatever you think about them as individuals, when viewed within the scope of like the collective group, they are the best, and
yeah.
Well, it's going to be a lot of interesting hockey played.
21 Puck saying, what, did Ferraro die? And I'm not saying that, but no one's looking to Ferraro for like to be the quarterback of the power play.
And you know what? This may be a bit of a controversial thing to say because I like Mario Ferraro. I think he's I think Mario Ferraro is probably the best drafted and developed defenseman the Sharks have had. Maybe since Vlasic or Justin Braun or
it's a small list, bro.
Jason Demers, Matt Carl. It's been a minute since the Sharks have drafted and developed a defenseman that's capable of playing a lot of NHL minutes. And we like Mario Ferraro, obviously. He, a couple of years ago, did an interview with you. Great guy. Mm-hmm. But I think maybe Sharks fans overvalue him just a smidge. Like, he's good.
They think he's 1-2. We believe he's 3-4.
Yeah, I think he's somewhere in the middle, probably.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. My point being is that he's not what Vlasic was when Vlasic broke out onto the scene. And I feel like a lot of people get really offended when you say that, but the numbers are there. You know what I mean?
Would you say that Ferraro is coming along or developing quicker than Vlasic did?
It's hard to say because Ferraro didn't make his NHL debut until 2 years after he was drafted, whereas Marc-Andre Vlasic jumped in right away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say, and I still think Ferraro is a good defenseman. Don't get me wrong, but I think we need to slow down a little bit on the whole elite top pairing defenseman conversation because he's not quite there yet.
Yeah. And Tony, I see you on there talking about the all the players that were on waivers. We're going to get to that in a little bit in the show, but wanted to make sure that we saw it. So that being said, one of the things that kind of stood out for me, dude, Lebank, the first 20 minutes, he was just like, oh, yeah, I'm going to make a difference. 4 shots on goal, led the team after one, and I had 1 shot after that.
You know what, though? I do agree. He definitely quieted down in that first game, but I thought in the second game, he was all over it again, I think. That line, people had things to say about that line, both positive and negative, but there's been so many conversations about Lebank, right? Play him on the third line, trade him, do this, do that. But the plan long term was always going to be, okay, how can we make Lebank a second line forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
And prior to this year, there hasn't been injuries or bad coaching or guys ahead of him in the depth chart. And so, I know he only came away, he didn't come away with any points in these 2 games, but I thought this is the best hockey I've seen from him in quite a while. And I think with that sort of continued trust to be up in the lineup, I think it's going to all come together, and I think that people will hopefully sort of change their stance on it a little bit. What's the phrase? Maybe the second line winger we needed was here all along. You know what I mean?
Well, let's get into some of these lines. So first, obviously, top line right now, Meyer, Hurdle, and because of Barabanov being out, Cunnin in there. Thoughts?
So,
I mean, he's one of 2 Cunnin, one of 2 players to have 2 points right now.
Yeah, and he leads the Sharks in scoring this year. We're not going to get into it, but he is number 1 on the module right now. So we talk. This is going to kind of be a long road to a quick point, but with Erik Karlsson, the conversation was always like the trade was fine. Jury's still out on the player, right? I feel like with Luke Cunnin, it's the opposite. The trade, I look at the trade, my eyes are like baseballs. But the player itself, I actually think is a really good add to this team. I think ultimately he ends up either on the second or the third line, but playing with Hurdle and Meyer, he to me seemed to fit seamlessly there. I thought obviously he scored a goal on the power play, playing with those guys. But I thought he brought a lot to that line. He had 4 hits, and blocked 2 shots as well. And I'm quite impressed with him early on. I like I said, I think ultimately he ends up maybe on that third line once Barabanov has come back, but he's not a bad guy to have on your roster, I think.
Well, and Hurdle seemed to have some pleasant things to say about him. So, I mean, of course, Hurdle has nice things to say about everybody. What's he going to do? This guy sucks. Coach needs to give me Gadjevic.
Well, and for whatever it's worth, I was talking to someone when the Sharks first traded for him, and this person, they're a fan of the Minnesota Wild, which is where Luke Cunnin started his NHL career. And this person was basically saying like, yeah, it's a bit, the trade itself is a bit rich, but he plays hard, and whatever is going to happen for him offensively, he's going to end up being a player that fans are going to fall in love with. And so we'll see.
All right. Real quick, because when you use that super chat option, you get in just ahead of everybody. It's the VIP is what it is.
You're on the list.
Yeah. Broden Smith, thank you very much for the donation. Says, love the pod. Not sure if this was discussed, but thoughts on the Barracuda with Eklund and Bordeleau. Any line predictions? Again, we're covering the Sharks and the whole Prague thing right now, but we were definitely, it's on the list. We will be talking about that in a little bit, but definitely going to hit that. Okay, a player that maybe not in, like you're saying, like Cunnin, good things, right?
Yeah, I think obviously good first impression,
right.
which is what you want.
All right,
I don't think he's gonna like. I think a lot of the people who were maybe discouraged about him getting traded for, I think will have their feelings changed.
Nice. Good way to put that, by the way. Very diplomatic.
Yeah.
Lindblom, kind of the opposite right now after 2 games?
Yeah, I don't think he really showed a lot in these 2 games. I mean, started with Couture and Lebank, as we saw, and then ended up finding his way down in the bottom 6 with Steven Lawrence getting promoted, which, as an aside, there's no way Lawrence stays up on that line long term. I thought he was buzzing there, though. I'll be totally honest with you. He looked good. Steven Lawrence, yeah. I think with Oscar Lindblom, not a lot to show in these first 2 games. I mean, he was -3. He did have an assist, but I still think there's a lot at play here. I mean, obviously, new team. You know, he has played in games since his cancer diagnosis, but I still think you never really know where somebody's journey is on like getting back to game speed and recovery and that kind of stuff. And so I tend to maybe give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit, but I think similar to Cunnin, but not so much about like why he was acquired, but more so like what he's going to bring to the team. I think Lindblom will end up making a lot of people really happy as well, just because he's, you know, he does have a knack for scoring goals at a pretty good clip, and he is, you know, I mean, they're all hard workers, but he is a hard worker and he plays really well. And same kind of thing. I think on a Stanley Cup team, he probably is on your 3rd line, but that's not to say that he can't provide something in the top 6.
All right, and you already had positive things to say about Lawrence. What about Sturm?
Love Nico Sturm. Oh my God, dude. All summer, I was saying, we have Nick Bonino. Why did we sign Nico Sturm? And after 1 game, I threw that mindset in the garbage and was like, you know what? Why did we? It went from we have Bonino, why did we sign Sturm, to why did we sign Sturm and not get rid of Bonino? And because there's just, you know, I kind of feel like Nico Sturm he's kind of the complete package a little bit. You know, he's not going to blow you away with his goal scoring. I think he'll ultimately fall into that kind of that 1 goal per calendar month sort of category that we assign for 4th line players. But, you know, he's kind of the complete package. I mean, he's on the bigger side, you know, 6'3", but he skates really well, like just like, you know, fundamentally, but also is a fast skater. 75% on the faceoffs through 2 games, which is wild because the Sharks suck at faceoffs, as we know.
Well, and remember, a lot of the talk from last season was the guys that they brought in, it was to take some of that pressure from Couture and Hertl taking defensive zone faceoffs.
Exactly. And you know, Nico Sturm's career percentage for faceoffs is 53%, which is something we love to see. You know, good on the faceoffs. He's fast, fundamentally skates really well, really, really solid guy on the PK, big body, he's everything. Like I don't even want to say this, but he's Joe Pavelski without the offense.
Oh,
and
we don't like that. We don't like to hear that name anymore.
I know. But you know what? I think, you know, he's a guy that I think if the Sharks, and we'll see, right? You know, he is on a 3-year deal. If the Sharks can turn things around here quicker rather than later, Sturm is going to be huge for this team going forward. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
All right, let's move to the defensive side of the puck for a moment. Harrington played himself out of a game.
What is there to say, right? Like, again, and we talked about this during the summer, but like, okay, Can't get rid of Shimmick. Okay, that's fine. It happens. Whatever. Let's bring in Benning. Let's re-sign Megna. Let's bring in Harrington. Like, you
Nudavara.
have Nudavara, I think, is actually, I like the gamble on Nudavara. I think that's a worthwhile gamble, truthfully. But those other three guys, Benning, Harrington, Megna,
Were those
like,
culture additions?
it's possible because honestly, they're all the same kind of, NHL seventh defenseman, AHL top pairing defenseman kind of category. And it's just like, you need one of those guys. You don't need four.
Dude, hearing you talk about this makes me just go back to what I was saying earlier about, it was buy two, get two free.
Yeah, honestly, it's like, and again, like, not bad players, but just not the players the Sharks need. And so, yeah, you can count me as one of the people who was a bit quizzical at, not only bringing all these guys in, but putting them all into the lineup at the same time. And I hope, as I said, I do think the gamble on Nudavara is a really good gamble to take, really smart gamble. And so I hope it works out.
Let's hit a couple in the chat real quick. I do want to point out, Lacey bringing up that Lindblom, as we kind of dump on him after 2 games, points out that Lindblom missed most of training camp and preseason with injury. So might take a few more days, few more games to, marinate, if you will. PJ48 coming in. How is the new coaching staff going to deal with Lebank and the drop pass turnover in his own zone, his critical penalty late in the third to give the opponent a power play? When will he get in the doghouse? He spent so much time in there. So he's used to it, I suppose. But remember, everybody gets a clean slate.
Clean slate, but also, I know, just listening to what Mike Greer said over the summer,
oh boy, and I hate the.
I got it. I cleared it out.
Thank you.
Yep. With Lebank, like, I know Mike Greer made it clear over the summer that this is very much a wait and see what happens with this team. Are they the playoff team? Are they a lottery team? Who knows? We'll see. We're just going to do what we do. But the Sharks, they want to build a good foundation. They want to put pieces in place to,
Here we go again.
They want to, they want to have something to look forward to going beyond this year. And having Lebank in a position to succeed, you do that. You help him get the confidence. You help him become a fixture of the team. Whereas I feel like the last couple of years he has been on the outs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, staying on that side of it, have you been impressed whatsoever with Vlasica after 2 games? Maybe so, maybe no. I mean, eating a little more minutes, and he wasn't the giveaway machine that he had been last season.
I can't, it's hard to say. I mean, I didn't really notice Vlasic all that much, which is obviously a good thing.
You weren't saying, God damn it, Vlasic.
Yeah, I think, the way the Sharks are, again, similar to Lebank, whatever you want to say about Vlasic and how he's done the last couple of years, the Sharks, at least for this year, the Sharks need Vlasic to help build that foundation, put that foundation in place. You know what I mean? And I thought the Vlasic-Ferraro pairing that they had rolled out in training camp, I thought was a disaster from the beginning. And so I'm glad that when the blender came out, that was one of the pairings that, got axed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, look, the story for me on the first game, it was the Sharks had 3 straight power plays, couldn't take advantage of them. We found out that Quinn will whip out that blender pretty quickly.
Yep.
So it's, Lindblom, sorry, whether it was a minor injury, whether it was benched for a little bit, or whether it was giving Lawrence more time up and rewarding him. There was a lot of things. And look, Quinn is still getting used to this team. There's, I don't want to say necessarily a truncated practice, or I should say preseason, but some significant travel involved and different things going on. So
not only that, but they, because of the circumstance of the preseason and obviously going over to Europe, the first time that the two groups were together was the game against the Berlin Polar Bears. So there is, even though these two games were obviously regular season, it still kind of feels
preseason
a little bit like working through the kinks.
Yeah, I felt largely the same. Game 2, Lawrence promoted over Lindblom, Svechnikov in for a scratched Gregor. Dude, that happened way faster than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't really find myself as pressed about that as I thought I would. I wasn't so much upset about Noah Gregor coming out. It was more so like, okay, you want to put Svechnikov in, I understand that. Why are you not taking Nieto out?
Ooh.
I hate to say it, but like Nieto's probably the worst forward on this team.
But one of the better penalty killers.
Yeah, but you know what? I understand that and I agree with that, but it's not like him leaving or being scratched is going to hurt the penalty kill.
Mm-hmm. And is based on the lines that you saw over these two games, whether you want to, I don't know, have a word about Svechnikov or Lindblom, is there anybody on this team that you're just like, yeah, I'd prefer Balsers? At a cheaper price?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, nobody on this team is. I'm probably Nieto, honestly. Like he's the only guy where I'm kind of like, yeah, let's let that go. And I know Gadjevich was an easy target last year, but I thought that in the preseason especially, I thought that he actually played very well. Put up quite a few goals in the preseason, and so I'm wondering, because he hasn't always been a bruiser. Like when he was in junior, he was actually a pretty prolific scorer, and didn't really become a bruiser until he went to the AHL. And so I'm wondering, maybe with Bob Bugner no longer behind the bench, maybe Jonavet Gadjevich can tap into that offense a bit more.
Well, and isn't Balsers like playing top 6?
Yeah, at last check, and I don't know if this has since changed, but at last check, he was on the top line in Florida with Sasha Barkov.
Oh, dude, that is such a kick in the smalls. Was Magna in for Harrington just because we all know Magna's getting sent down once Nudavara's healthy, or?
Yeah, probably just like, hey, we're over here, why don't you play?
Yeah. Well, it's this one. It's again. It's.
Have you seen the roster moves? Have you seen the roster moves that did come out for the Sharks today, or no?
We're not there yet. We'll get there.
Okay, all right.
But this is a story of, at least in Game 2, Sharks. At least they scored first, but again, similar to last season, couldn't hold it, and a second period implosion. As of now, they have a -4 goals differential in the second period. Second period was not the Sharks' friend last season. So far after 2, not their friend. The one thing that sticks out with that second game, though, is you pull Kakinen with 2.5 left, and you're only able to get off 4 shots.
Yeah.
And there wasn't, I don't know. I felt like a couple guys, I felt there was a couple times where Carlson and Lebank both had opportunities to shoot. And they were like, no, you do it.
Right.
Nah, you. You first. I don't know. So after 2 games, and like I said, it's a contracted preseason in as Jerk and I just alluded to, this does feel kind of preseason-ish. Let's see what the rest of October brings.
Well, especially like, even though these are regular season games, like the NHL, because of the circumstances, the NHL didn't even force them to be roster compliant until everybody else has to be,
Yeah,
like,
I thought that was kind of cool.
To really add to the preseason feel of it all,
That's a solid point. I like that. Oh boy. So let's kind of move on. It is what it is. We can't dive too much in the weeds after 2 goddamn games because, as Jerk loves to say, small sample size.
Hey, so are you excited, or I guess are you happy, or I want to know your thoughts on
New Coke? Don't like it.
No, on Nick Bonino keeping Timo Meier's jersey letter warm. I want to know your thoughts on that.
I don't understand giving Bonino the A, just because it's likely he's not going to be here next season, and he might not.
I would say it's guaranteed, but go ahead.
I'm sorry?
I would say it's guaranteed, but go ahead.
Oh, you think he will be here next year? Okay.
No, I think he won't be.
Oh, okay. And then,
like, for sure, 100%.
Oh, okay. So it's like you're not going to be here next season. There's a likely. Well, I don't want to say likelihood, but there's definitely a possibility you might not be here after the trade deadline. So
yeah,
that did seem a little quizzical to me. Now, I pick up what you're throwing down when it comes to keep it calling it Meyer's letter, but that's another guy that I'm not sure if is going to be here next season.
No, I'm not too stressed about that. I think he will.
I'm not stressed, but it's that whole idea of, well, then again though, I'm also, I'm of the house where it's like you don't need more than 3 letters.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like, we're not even talking about the point that it was ultimately not necessary for Bonino to get an A. Like, they could have, as you said, you only need a captain and 2 alternates. And even with the Sharks having 3 alternates before naming Bonino, like, they could have stayed there. They could have taken the alternate off of Ferraro, you know what I mean? But to add another one, it's just, I don't know, it's very peculiar to me. And I know Kevin Lacey, I know he hates, when teams have like 100 alternate captains, but
yeah, I'm not a fan either.
I don't know. I think it's just goofy, but I don't really have a good reason for why,
Well, we asked this question, I don't know how many times, so we're going to ask it again.
Okay.
Where's this team going to find goals? Aside from the big 3, Couture, Hertl, Meier. Where are the goals going to come from?
Well, I think if you're the Sharks management team, you're hoping that Lebank bounces back. You're hoping that Cunnin and Lindblom and Barabanov and Gregor, you're hoping all those guys have another level. You're hoping Erik Karlsson can truly be healthy this year. But and that's all well and good. I mean, those are 6 players right there that are obviously really important to the team. But think about, in bringing up those 6 players, what word did I repeat? Hope.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like Quinn is like, if everybody can just be 10% better than what they were last year or whatever. It just sounded to me very much kind of, if you read the tea leaves, as Jerk likes to say,
sure.
Between some of the comments that Mike Greer made in the offseason and some of the things Quinn has said so far, it's, they're not going to hang up a neon sign that says transition year.
Right.
But it largely feels that way. Like, we just want to get one more year off of Vlasic's deal and one more year off Lebank's and one more off Šimik. And you know what I mean? Like, we want to change the culture. We want to, be the hard, gritty, hard-nosed, blah, 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 all the superlatives that were used. But I just go, okay, that's great, but you have to score from time to time, and it can't just – how many times did we say it last year? This is a one-line team.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that changed. And, like, Balcers – I would have kept.
Yeah. I mean, you can't do any worse, right?
They're trying.
Right. I don't like, okay, letting Jonathan Dahlin go, I understand. Like, I like the player, but I understand it, right? Mm-hmm. But Rudolph's Balcers, like, he is your penalty kill guy, your defensive zone guy. Like, it's peculiar to me how Balcers can't be a guy who's hard to play against. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Fangio making a comment. Thought, shouldn't it be better to focus on natural leaders within the team? The C shouldn't matter, in my opinion. Ferraro's a leader. Absolutely, Ferraro's a leader. My point is, you don't need more than 3. That's all.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like, you don't need a letter to
Be a leader.
You don't need a letter to be a leader. And I kind of think with the letters, especially giving it to Ferraro when he got it and giving it to Hurdle when he got it, it's not so much saying you're a leader. It's more so, in my opinion, it's more so saying, hey, you're an important part of the team and we really love having you here. This is how we show that.
Dig it. Something that was mentioned, I believe, yesterday, perhaps the day before. Jerk, is this the worst blue line in the NHL?
Absolutely it is. And now, I'm just saying that without doing any research or thought. Maybe if you give me a couple days to look it up, maybe I can find one that's worse. But just...
Well, I mean, dude, show me another team that has more points than the blue line of the Sharks right now.
Well, you make a sound point. No, I just think, obviously, Erik Karlsson, good to have. Mario Ferraro, good to have. I know Marc-Edouard Vlasic, he's kind of been on the outs, but I thought the second half of last season, I actually thought he played not up to his contract, but I thought he didn't get completely caved in either. And so I think those 3, if those are kind of the 3 that you want to hitch your horse to, that's fine for this team. But
fuck it, dude. Go full tinfoil conspiracy and just be like, Greer put this team together to sell out Barracuda games.
I mean, maybe because, for the Sharks, their 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th defensemen are all 7th defensemen, right?
Jesus.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna be real interested to see how many points come from the blue line. That's woof.
You want to make a little wager? I bet you Erik Karlsson gets more than 60% of them.
See, that's the whole thing. Is I'm not going to take that bet because I agree. I was going to say I would push it to 75.
That's going to be something interesting to check. We'll have to.
Well, it depends on how healthy he stays. But
true. But
yeah, there needs to be a caveat in there as to how many games he actually plays. You know what I mean? It has to be a percentage, point. 6.5 points per game, not how many games he plays. But anyway, look, let's get back to our notes here.
Well, but you know what though? Even if Erik Karlsson doesn't play a full season, he's still going to outscore the rest of the defensemen on the blue line.
Oh, without a doubt, I think he could miss half the season and probably pull that off, to be quite honest. Although, like I said, though, Ferraro has 2 points right now. Karlsson has none.
It's a fair point.
So, anyway. But getting back to that power play for a minute, EK65 was quoted as saying the power play, not bad, not good.
It's probably accurate.
Yeah. Well, he's known for his quotes, right? Not even close.
Mm-hmm,
but another 1-goal loss. Last season, the Sharks lost 27 games by 1 goal. If you throw out the empty netters, there's a couple in there they lost 4-2 or 3-1, but you go in and look and that last goal was an empty netter. So, but that's a third of the season, bro.
It makes you wonder. I know we think pretty low of this team, but it makes you wonder.
I don't want to say that. I think we just our expectations are perhaps lower than previous seasons.
Sure, but it does, the fact that they lost 27 games by 1 goal, it does make you wonder how different this team looks if Jonathan Dahlen doesn't get hurt, if Balcers takes another step, if Lebank doesn't get hurt.
Gregor can bury one from
Noah
time to time.
Gregor took another step. It may not to say that the Sharks would have made the playoffs and made some noise in the playoffs, but it does make you wonder how differently things would have transpired.
Yeah, I'm still blown away that Gregor got stapled after 1 game. Whew.
I don't think it's indicative of Gregor. I think it's more so wanting to get Svechnikov a game, which I like Gregor more, but I get it,
And if we learned anything, the ice in Prague sucks.
Yeah, that's what everybody was saying.
Dude, the Nets came off in 2 games more than we'll probably see at the tank all season. God, that was ridiculous. Oh, let's move on to the waiver wire and all the movement. Like we mentioned earlier, we would be getting to this. Dell and VL put on waivers earlier today as expected. Anybody put in a claim on? I mean, Aaron Dell I might see just is like some team. I mean, dude, it would. Well, Vegas doesn't have any space, right, or any cap space. But it would seem like a Dell or a Vegas move.
Yeah, I
don't know, Toronto.
I don't. Aaron Dell hasn't been. He hasn't been a quality NHL goaltender for a while. But I still think maybe there is some outside chance that a team does take a sniff on him. Maybe if they feel that their goaltending is not up to shape. But at this, I mean, I don't know. This is kind of I always feel like when it comes to like the last waiver drop of the preseason, I kind of feel like there's a gentleman's agreement where it's like.
Oh,
hey,
really? I see. I
don't have anything that corroborates that, but I kind of feel like it's like, hey, I won't take your guy if you don't take my guy. Like, because there have been, and maybe this is pandemic influenced, but I feel like there have been a handful of pretty solid players over the last 3 years to find themselves on waivers, and nobody picks them up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. I like Dell being here just because I think I just put it in that whole kind of player coach thing. Like maybe they're, this is a terrible choice of words considering what came out earlier today in the NHL, but perhaps they're grooming him to be part of Nabby's staff going forward and to help the goaltenders coming up through the system, kind of a player coach kind of a thing.
I don't know about that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, how much is he going to play? I mean, he's almost like the E-Bug, right? At this point. I mean, if Mann and whoever else are expected to perform, and if they do, what do you need Dell in there for? You already know what you have in Dell.
Sure.
So I don't know. Let's get to the fun ones. Eklund, Bortolo, and Cicek got assigned to the Barracuda.
Mm-hmm.
Any surprises as the teams get their final rosters ready? Is there, I don't know. I mean, Cicek, we all knew, was not going to make the Sharks. Eklund and Bortolo. I'm not surprised that they were sent down.
No, I'm not either. I mean, I think I'm of the belief where the Sharks are not going to be good no matter who's on this team. So,
like, why not let them light it up?
Yeah, why not start them and like give them the chance and then basically prove you right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like the more I think about things, right, it's probably better for their development curve if they are on a good team, a winning team, a team that's not in transition. So while I think they should be in the NHL, I'm not really that upset that they aren't, because if they do what they're supposed to do, which you, I, and everybody else believes that they will, it's only a matter of time before they're going to find themselves on the team anyway.
Yeah, we have some breaking news.
Okay. Is it actual news or is it just lame?
This is actual news. This I can't fucking believe this. I mean, what a goddamn day. Coming out of the Bakersfield Condor system, affiliate to the Edmonton Oilers, they have posted a statement that said, earlier today, we became aware that Bakersfield Condors head athletic trainer, Chad Drown, had been charged with a very serious felony with very serious felony offenses related to contacting a minor to commit a sexual offense in the state of California. We are shocked and dismayed by this news, and Mr. Drown has been relieved of his duties immediately. What the hell is going on in hockey? I mean, do we just have to burn it all fucking down and start over? This is disgusting.
Yeah. No, actually, that's the problem. Is there's, unfortunate. I mean, I'm glad things are coming to light, but it's unfortunate that it's taken this long for things to come to light. Like, it's just another example in a long line of shitty people and shitty methods and shitty just everything. And like this, I don't even get this. I honestly, I don't think getting fired is enough. Like, this guy should have fucking rocks thrown at him, but yeah. I digress.
But I just don't get that. Like, what the hell is wrong with some of these guys? Where it's just like, that's a minor. Walk the hell away.
But it's not even that. It's so much more than that.
It is, but
it's like, hey, I mean, I understand. Like, obviously, you can only learn so much, but like, it's just, I don't know. It's just really like this guy is probably going to find another job somewhere because of how fucked up everything is.
But I mean, I'm just trying to like break it down to the very minimum point of like treating these kind of situations like a bartender. It's like, do you have ID? You're over 20. Okay, we can serve you. You are an adult. To keep on hearing these things being brought up by minors, what the hell are you guys thinking?
Because there's a bunch of sick fucks in the world. That's why.
It just gets worse. Let's get back to the fun stuff. Eklund and Bordelot, do you think, how fast do you think either are called up? Actually, let me ask you a more fun question. How many games in a row do the Sharks have to lose? They're already down 0-2, right? How many more do the Sharks have to lose before Joe Thornton returns?
I have a new policy for this season. I don't answer stupid questions.
All right. You were talking about bets. Maybe we need to get something together offline or on the Discord as you clean up the chat.
Yep.
But maybe we can get something together. Start an over-under or whatever of how many games the Sharks are going to play before either Eklund or Bordelot get called up.
I got to be honest with you, dude. I think it's wishful thinking to think it's going to be anytime soon.
Yeah,
because
I think it's going to be like at least 25 because I feel like
more.
Okay, but I'm saying it's not going to be before 25, and I don't want to be. This is the whole thing. Is when we get to doing Pucknologists whatever after game 30 or whatever, and Eklund and Bordelot don't get called up, I'm not going to be on here going, hey, well, I've told you this. It's like, no. We can leave the back patting for later. It's just fun for us to do our little bets between each other.
So here's the thing, though. The Sharks, so they've sent Jeffrey VL down.
Who? You mean Gadjevich Part 2?
Anyway, so they send VL down. So VL is going to be, assuming he doesn't get claimed, which I think he won't.
Who's making that decision?
Anyway, but with him gone on the Barracuda potentially, the Sharks are at 14 forwards, and that's it. They're done making transactions, which means for Eklund and Bordelot to come into the NHL lineup, four forwards on this roster are going to have to be out of the lineup at some point at the same time. What are the chances of that happening?
If another COVID outbreak happens.
I mean, yeah, but
I'm just saying. I mean, you're saying what are the chances? I'm saying that's probably the likeliest one.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. The likeliest
scenario of the impossible happening.
Right, the likeliest scenario, but how likely is that scenario? You know what I mean?
12%.
Like I'm with Kevin. I don't think it's going to be, or I'm sorry, with Ian. I don't think it's going to be till the trade deadline because
Kevin, Ian, Tomato, Tornado.
because these guys, Nick Bonino is going to be gone. Matt Nieto is going to be gone. Like the only way that there's going to be room for Eklund and Bordelot is if guys get traded. So I don't see it happening anytime soon. 25 games, I get what you're saying. Still too soon, if you ask me.
And I agree. I'm just saying I don't think there's any way in hell it's before 25. But I've been proven wrong many.
You mean 2025?
Correct.
Because I could see that. I would take those odds.
I saw a question come through earlier, and so I wanted to find out your take. What was the point of not burning a year off Eklund's ELC, but it was okay to do it in Board's first year last season, even when the Sharks were essentially all but done?
Well, it's because so the thing is, so like with Eklund, with Eklund, like his entry level contract was already signed. So whether Sharks, Barracuda, Djurgården, like wherever he ended up, he's still signed. The thing with Bordelot, because he was an NCAA player, you can't sign an NHL contract and still play college hockey. Like if you sign, you have to leave. And so you're wondering what's the difference, why was one smart and not the other. It's all, specifically with college draft picks, it's all getting the guy when you want him, because Bordeleau was drafted I believe he was drafted in 2020 if I'm not mistaken, and yes, 2020. And so he had the Sharks not signed him last year, and he could have easily gone back to Michigan for his junior year, gone back for his senior year, and could have said, you know what? No thanks, San Jose. I'm going to go sign somewhere else. Or, hey, I'm actually really good. You might want to sign me to more than just your standard cheap ELC. And so from the Sharks, it was a position of, okay, we really like this player. We want to get him under contract so that we don't have to worry about any of that. And the way that you do that is say, hey, we'll let you play some NHL games if you agree to leave school and sign with us.
Gotcha. Well, see, there you go. That's the explanation. Similar to Gambrell?
Similar to Gambrell, similar to pretty much every college college player that's ever signed. I know, obviously, the Sharks ended up not bringing Brinson Pasichnuk back, but again, same kind of thing. When they signed him, he left Arizona State, and it was like, hey, if you leave school, we'll play you in some NHL games, and they did, so.
Sweet. We've almost reached the top of the hour. You know what time it is.
What time is it? Oh, another drink.
I have to get the second one in.
There you go.
All right. So, who's your hero this week?
I need a hero. Please don't copyright us, Google. Hero for the week. I kind of drooled over him a little bit earlier in the show, but Nico Sturm. He came as delivered. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the offense is not there, but the Sharks needed to get faster. Nico Sturm is a fast player. They needed to get better at winning faceoffs. Nico Sturm is good at that. They want to make sure the penalty kill still is rock solid. Nico Sturm can contribute to that. And he, obviously, again, he didn't get any points in these two games against the Nashville Predators, but I thought, in terms of if you're ranking, biggest impact, he was very close to the top for me. He's my hero of the week, and as you'll see, just a little teaser, but the superlative of the week is going to change as the wind flows. Just saying. Go ahead.
My hero, mentioned him earlier, Mario Ferraro, just on what small sample size of this season, but that the guys are going to have to eat up those minutes that Burns was munching last year. Mm-hmm. He's averaging nearly 25 minutes a game already. We know he's got a motor that doesn't quit, and right now he's one of two Sharks that are averaging a point per game.
Hey,
gotta like that.
He's, like I said, he's off to a good start.
Yeah. And who would you say is the hero for both of us? I have three names. I will let you select.
Yeah. So I think. I think you do have Luke Kunin on this list, and I did like what I saw from him in two games, but he's leading the team in scoring. I think that's an easy sort of that's the sexy pick, right?
Sure.
That's the I didn't watch both games, but he's got a goal pick. And
would that be the Rocket pick if you would?
Wow.
Callback.
But I think Lawrence, as I said, he found his way with Couture and Lebank, and I don't think he's going to stay up there for any long stretch of time. I wouldn't be surprised if he's back on the fourth line for Friday's contest against Carolina, but he played with some jump on the fourth line, earned his way to get up into the second line, and I thought he played really well with Couture and Lebank as well, and didn't see anything. Didn't see anything on the score sheet that obviously would have maybe reinforced the decision to put him up there, but I thought he played really well.
Fun fact,
Sure.
Brody, Randy Hahn, Brett Hedican, all these people can pronounce Lawrence correctly. I'll give you one guess. Why? Because that person kept pronouncing it Lawrence. But anyway, one fun thing I had on here was, since it's the beginning of the season, 3 names that you have the highest expectations for this season. There's a lot of expectations for me. Noah Gregor. This has not panned out well for me so far. Scratched one game. Kakkonen. I have high hopes, high expectations. I thought he looked pretty solid on a crappy team last year. And this season in the one game looked okay, but you obviously would hope for a little bit more. And then Kevin Lebank, that this is the guy, what was it, shoulder surgery or something?
Yep.
So you had, he only played like a handful of games, 21 or something like that.
Only played 21 games last year, and the game on Friday was his first regular season game in like 279 days or something.
Oh,
plus, so it's been a minute.
Over the off season, Chief got married. He's having a kid.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot going on in his life. I really hope he is somehow able to bottle. Here's the shameless, the Ian Jack Nicholson gif of the, is if he can bottle up that 4-minute power or the 5-minute power play, that performance. That's the.
Did somebody say Game 7?
Exactly. But if he can find his way back to that, solidify himself on at the least the second line, somewhere in the top 6, but find his game. And if not, there's only one more year left of him. And I don't know, is that an easy write-off? We'll see. But those are the 3 that I have a lot of expectations for. Is there anybody you want to call out before we move on?
So the 3 you called out, I agree with all 3, but in the spirit of content creating, I will not say anything about those 3 other than I agree with you. Somebody I'm looking at, obviously, it's a cheap answer if I say everybody, right? But if I had to, obviously I'm thinking like Timo Meier, because he had the career year last year, played really well. You and I were very much on, hey, sign him now before he takes another step. The Sharks didn't do that. But do you think that's kind of a, let's see if you can, tell me that this season wasn't an anomaly. Show me that. Right, and I think that is what it ultimately is going to be. But Timo Meier is the one for me. Like, I don't know that I can pick 3 like you did, but Meier is definitely number 1 because you want to show, hey, like, can you do that again, for 1? But for 2, he just literally, his birthday was yesterday, so shout out, happy birthday. He's 26 years old now. At 26, that's when you should be giving out the 8-year deal. Mm-hmm. And so as much as it's, can you do this again? It's also, hey, we gave Tomas Hertl 8-year deal. Are we making the right decision? Should we give you an 8-year deal as well? Can you and Tomas Hertl be the dynamic duo that's going to bring this team back to being a good team that contends for the playoffs, contends for the Stanley Cup, all that kind of stuff? And so I think, and that's not to say if he goes back down to being like a 50, 60 point player. That's not a bad thing by any means. You still need those players, but he was a 76 point player last year. I want to see more, and I think the Sharks want to see more too, because with him, it's a huge moment in time. Are you thinking Barzal's deal might be a little bit of motivation this season? Yeah, I mean, I definitely, if I had to pick between the 2, and I know this is a complete. I was like, don't you have a pinned tweet picking between the 2? This is a complete punt on my mindset over the last 7.5 years. But if I had to pick between the 2, I would take Timo Meier. And I think Timo Meier has been the better player the last couple of years. And so you say, okay, if Matt Barzal got, 9.25 or whatever it was, like, what's Timo Meier going to get? But I still think, and who's to say where it ends up, but like if Meier, and I think it's a good contract if Meier ends up between the 2, somewhere between Hertl and Barzal. If he ends up somewhere between the 2 of those, I think it's a good contract. I know people are going to say he's better than Barzal, therefore should be getting paid more than Barzal. I just don't see that happening, because then you start to get into the Jonathan Huberdeau territory, and it's like, well, who would you rather have, Huberdeau or Timo Meier? Mm-hmm. Score 100 points, and then we'll talk about $10 million.
Hey, now. Let's get into
Shout out to Darius real quick.
Oh, Darius coming in. Well, thank you for keeping an eye on that. Darius, love that the last episode shows the size comparison with the massive video board versus the other one. Can't wait to see it in person soon. Killer podcast, dude. Much love. Go Sharks. Thank you very much. And if you would like to see it again, here it is. That's a huge bitch.
And that's not even the completed product either.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff still going on underneath that scoreboard that's going to be debuted next Friday. So look forward to it. You know the sad thing though, just talking scoreboards for a hot second, somebody posted photos from the preseason Barracuda game last night. One of the panels at the Barracuda new scoreboard is already out.
Of course it is.
Yeah, that was fast. All right, zeros. I'll do mine first, and I'm pretty sure somebody mentioned this about an hour ago. Matt Benning. Dude, you got a 4-year deal. You lead the team -4 right now, and we all know that. Let Chris make his joke about that, but I don't know.
Not a good start.
Yeah, just say not a good. It's like you're the zero for this week. There you go.
Well, and one of the things, because there's only been 2 games at this point, and the theme of this podcast was sort of like the first day of school, like who made the good first impression, right?
Meet me out at the bike rack.
Yeah, and it's not Matt Benning, and time will tell. Time will tell. But you mentioned the 4-year deal, and one of the things that I've kind of made my crutch over the last year or so: stop giving replacement level players multiple year deals.
Thank you.
Oh my God, we need Matt Benning. We got to sign him to a 4-year deal. Or option number 2, just roll out Shimmick, Harrington, or Megna. Same thing, and they're only on cheaper deals.
Thank you.
Same thing. Whatever.
And Lacey pointing out that the panel went out during the first night of the rookie face-off.
That's hilarious.
Now, I didn't want to bring this up, but sorry. I had to have one, so I took it. Who's your zero?
I don't know.
You should probably come up with a better name for that.
Yeah, well, because I really like.
Who's your loser this week?
I really wanted to say Matt Benning.
Such an easy target.
I know. I really was.
If you don't have one.
I don't know. Just the thing is, like, there was and I feel bad because I'm sure he's a swell guy, but there were guys that impressed me, and there were guys where I was just on.
They're all swell guys. We're just pointing out that perhaps this week you did not perform as well as we would liked.
Right. No. But what I'm saying is
put the Curtis Brown wrap around it.
But what I'm saying is, aside from Benning, there was nobody where I was like, oh my God, why are you playing? I mean, I guess maybe Nieto. Actually, you know what? I am going to say Nieto.
I was going to say, yeah, you burned him in effigy about a half hour ago. Let it go.
Because you know what? He does have speed, which is nice. But that's it. Like, you fire a puck to him, he's not catching it. He's not breaking in all alone to score his beautiful goal.
All right.
So,
and then
again, I was not upset that Noah Gregor got scratched. I was upset that Matt Nieto didn't get scratched.
There you go. And what? If we're both going to pick one, I mean, I'm going to go with Harrington. Played himself out of a spot real quick.
See, I feel like that's the ezy choice, but you know what?
We do easy from time to time here.
Sure, but I mean, I would take him over Benning.
Okay, there you go.
But you know what? If that's how you truly feel, then sure, I'll co-sign that.
All right. And then the 3 names that I have the lowest expectations for. Now, I have to preface this that let me start. Hertl. I have very low expectations for him because I know what we have in Hertl. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm saying, oh, he's going to suck. I'm just going to say I expect him to be Hertl. I don't expect him to be more than that,
Yeah, the baseline expectation is 70 points.
Yeah.
If he scored 70 points, you're not going to be like, "Oh my God, he's so good." It's like, "Yeah, good job. You did what you're supposed to."
Yeah, exactly. It's like when I go to my favorite pizza place or whatever. It's like I have low expectations here because they knock it out of the park every time. I know what I'm getting. And so that being said, the other 2 names that I have low expectations for, Mario Ferraro. I know what I'm getting. And then, of course, Erik Karlsson. unfortunately, I know what I'm getting. So I'm just saying, those are mine. I don't know if there's anybody you want to call out before we move on.
You know what? I won't. I've done enough tonight, so I'll just say their names and we can move on. But the Matt Benning and Matt Nieto.
There you go.
Like, and again,
be doormats.
It's not meant to be a carve job, but like those are the two guys where I'm like, it's game 2 and you already are driving me crazy.
All right. Typically, we would get into the stats in the module. It's really not worth covering until we actually have a few more stats, or until, like, I don't know, other teams in the league have some stats.
Sure.
So we'll move on from that right now and get into some quick hits. One thing that I really liked about this weekend is NBCS California finally added a shot counter to the score strip. Only took them, 10, 15 years to get that together?
I didn't like it. I thought the score strip was ugly.
I could give a shit what it looks like. I was just happy that they finally added the shot counter, but I didn't think it looked very different from last year except for a shot counter.
Yeah, I mean, the shot counter is nice, but there's a better way to implement it. I thought it really, I don't know. I just found it to be very distracting, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, overall, I think it could probably be a little bit more compact, but anyway.
Because the number that indicates how many goals are scored, it's so big. Like, I found my eye kept moving towards it during the game. I'm like, yeah, I know, 1-to-1, I got it, you know?
Another quick thing, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Another quick thing, Sharks are hosting a street rally for the home opener next Friday, in case you were not aware. That starts at, I believe, 3:30. I'm sure it'll be out there on Obama between, the SAP and, what is it called? Arena Green?
Yeah.
I'll buy it. I also saw something that looks like the Barracuda are also going to do a rally for their home opener the week after. So, look, I'll be there. Looking forward to that. Let's see. For those of you who enjoy the media shit, after 8 decades on the air, Talk Radio 810 KGO is rebranding. You're asking, why do I bring this up? Why? Because they're changing to a sports betting channel. Tomorrow morning, evidently, you can look forward to 810 The Spread, which make your own Pornhub jokes. But look, they're going to simulcast some national shows like Jim Rome, but it's going to be interesting to see how this impacts KMBR 95.7, simply because many times they've had segments that are literally bought and paid for, while they bring on somebody for the host to gab with for 20-25 minutes and call my number for the, my Monday night lock and all that crap, trying to get people to bet. I mean, you live in Vegas. I'm sure a station like this probably exists. I mean, aren't there apps for this? Why would you listen to a radio station that's just talking about betting lines for 5 hours?
Well, to be sort of the contrarian here, I think... Sure. I'm somebody, not to say that I'm like a total degenerate, but I do...
You're partial.
I do partake in the sports betting. And so to see, which, by the way, this radio station, I've never heard of it before this news dropped. Like Jim Rome. Who is Jim Rome? No clue. But,
are you serious?
Dude, I don't watch billiards. I don't know.
No, but dude, Jim Rome had like a viral clip from like 30 years ago when he was, I don't know if it was ESPN or whatever, but
hey, 30 years ago, I'm 27.
Dude, but you understand that like viral clips, tend to go on, and he had it where quarterback Jim Everett was like about to kick his ass on live TV because he kept referring to him as Chris Everett, which was a very famous tennis player at one point who happened to be female. So Everett was Jim Everett. I believe it was Jim Everett. Dude, and like basically threatened Rome on TV and said, "I bet you don't call me that again." And then Jim Rome did, and like Everett like flipped the table and went after him.
Oh, well, good for him.
So anyway,
point being is, so I am somebody who does partake in the sports gambling a little bit. So while I don't need somebody to like tell me who to bet on and what to bet on, I don't need that, but I think it's fun. And there's another radio show that I listen to that does this as well, where you get a couple buddies in where it's like, hey, we're talking football, we're each going to pick a 1:00 game and we're going to it's like using betting odds and betting lines to have like a friendly wager, and I think that could be fun to listen to just for like the shit talking element.
All right. Well, either way, it's going to be fun to see how this impacts the other two talkers, KMBR and 95.7 when it comes to sports. 95.7, of course, who's been in the market for over 10 years, remains 25th in the market and dead last in San Jose. But maybe if you talk Sharks once in a while. But anyway, around the NHL, if you didn't notice it, how could you? I mean, how could you not? The NHL announced digital enhanced dasher boards, and if you thought the jersey ads were bad, woof. Like, initially I'm like, let's see how distracting they are. Those big ads that they would superimpose on the glass behind the goalies, very distracting for me. The ones that they would project on the ice, like, it kind of goes away after 5 minutes. These digitally enhanced dashers, dude, there was sometimes, like, I don't mind it if they, like, just, flip the switch and it just goes from Xfinity to Budweiser. But those ones, like, was it Toyota or something, where they would actually have movement when they made the switch? Dude, that was distracting for me.
Truthfully, I don't know. It was definitely noticeably different for sure, but I didn't really find myself having a strong opinion on it one way or the other. The way that I kind of look at it is like, hey, if the digitally enhanced dasher boards can expedite the timeline on the salary cap rising, I'm down.
Yeah, and I get that, but it's just, I don't know. Again, if they just like flip a switch and there's no movement, it's just the logo changes from one to the other, not a problem. But they were, it was a lot of movement in there, and I'm like, man, I'm losing sight of where the puck is and what's going on because they have this moving stuff. It's annoying.
That's fair.
So, and it's kind of jarring when they switch camera angles, like some plays happening in the corner and you see like a Toyota logo behind it. And then when they go to a different camera, all of a sudden it says SAP. I don't know. We'll see if I get used to it. They need to stop with the moving parts of it, but whatever. Did you know the Kraken debuted their jersey? Or not their jersey, their mascot. The jersey thing was better. I guess this is a life-size troll doll named Bowie. I mean, if they don't get Flava Flav from Public Enemy to go, yeah, Bowie, that's a missed thing. And of course, Baba Booey.
I was gonna say Baba Booey.
Yeah, but I don't know. Is the Rangers mascot better?
Well, you know how I feel. I think all mascots are stupid. So,
but is the Rangers mascot better?
Truthfully, dude, I didn't even know they had one.
They don't. So you see my point.
Well, then yes, much better.
Thank you. I really thought you were gonna hit that when I teed it up, but it's all right. It's up to you. I'm gonna let you take the wheel for a minute if you would like to talk about Steve Simmons and Akeem Alou and Wayne Simmons. You don't have to. I'm just putting it out there because it was something that happened in the NHL.
I'm really happy that Akeem and Wayne went on Twitter and, stood up for themselves and stood their ground and called out Steve Simmons. Steve Simmons is I hate that I've even said his name because he's a fucking loser.
I got to be honest. I've never heard of this guy.
You're lucky. He's a loser. He's somehow it's one of those things where he's the only person who covers the team for a certain outlet, so he gets to stick around. But he is like the
Is this someone who like throws shit at the wall, takes credit for anything that sticks, and ignores everything else and just says stupid shit?
He'll carve people in his articles, and then when he gets called out for it, he turns around and hides. So obviously, for making just the most ridiculous comments ever, gets buried by Akeem and Wayne, which I loved. I thought it was awesome. But
Wayne went full, keep my name out your mouth.
Yeah, and even it goes so much further. Right before the bubble playoffs back in 2020, Austin Matthews, he contracted the COVID, and
Rona.
and that was obviously before positive tests and the protocols and everything were all public, because it's somebody's medical information. And Steve Simmons, he wrote an article about how Austin Matthews got COVID, like before anybody announced it, before his family even knew, all that kind of stuff. And again, putting out shitty content, and Austin Matthews called him out in the media scrum, basically saying, "Hey, I think that was a real pigeon move that you pulled, and you suck." And like Jacob is saying in the chat, Simmons completely folded like a chair. And there's so much more before that. The Phil Kessel hot dog thing, and calling Dion Phaneuf uncoachable, like just a bunch
Whoa.
of just a bunch of obnoxious bullshit. And so like the day that guy fucking retires and loses his press pass, it's going to be a good day for everybody.
So this is just some guy who hurls slop from the cheap seats.
Yeah, he's a
Okay.
yeah, he's a
I wasn't aware. To me,
he's a muckraker.
I was going to say, it just sounds like a worse version of Skip Bayless, and that, oof, that's. I'll just let that one go. Tampa Bay has announced that it suspended Ian Cole while investigations begin on grooming allegations, sexual assault allegations. Again, I'm going to let you take the lead on this.
I do want to correct myself really quick. I got confused. Steve Simmons is not a muckraker. He does yellow journalism, sensationalism. Wanted to correct myself. I mean,
why
again,
does this keep happening?
I mean, well, that's the thing, because there's a lot of really shitty people out there who, because they have power or because they have wealth or both, they think they can get away with shit like this. And I'm glad that this came out. I feel really sad that the accuser, felt so concerned that she had to be anonymous. Like, I can't imagine what that's like, and I feel really sad for that person. But I'm glad at the same time that it has come out, because, people like this, they need to be held accountable. They need to be, showed off in the public square and said, "Hey, you're a fucking loser," and we all know it. And we'll see. I mean, obviously there's still an investigation to be done, and we'll see. But given some other things that have come out surrounding Ian Cole, it wouldn't surprise me if he is a shitty person like everybody sort of thinks he is.
Thanks. Who's the one guy that Dan Boyle kicked out of the dressing room in New York?
That's Larry Brooks.
Yeah, that's another piece of work. There's a lot of stuff on him. Anyway, let's move on to the Barracuda. Right, there was some mixed reactions to the Barracuda and Sharks jerseys when they came out. We finally saw the brand new blackout jerseys for the Cuda. Again, not a fan of the vertical word mark, but I thought they looked all right. Tech CU, there's been some largely positive words about Tech CU. They had a preseason game was that last night? I don't know, the whole weekend merges because I went to a concert and everything.
Yeah, they did. They did like a watch party for the Sharks game, and then they had the Barracuda preseason game.
That is correct. So most of the feedback largely positive. I saw a couple people that were none too happy. I guess some of the way that entering the building or the ticket. I mean, which we've seen before when they switch to digital tickets. There's gonna be some bumps here and there as they get everything squared away and figure out which process is smoothest. So you can expect that. Remember, everything is evidently cash free there. So bring your phone if you want food and bev and all that stuff. I thought the seats were a little on the small side, or my ass is getting bigger. Two things can be true.
Yeah, no kidding.
Anyway, the Barracuda open their season next week. Hopefully you're able to catch some Barracuda hockey prior to the Sharks games next week. And for a little more on the Sharks minor league squad, we're going to throw it over to the voice of the Barracuda, Nick Nolenberger, who spoke with Kevin Lacey and Ian Reed earlier this week.
Ooh, Barracuda.
Well, again, goes back to you got a new regime, so he's got to try to, and maybe it's a good thing. Maybe he gets a fresh start. But obviously, the fact that he's in the American Hockey League, it's I don't know if it's an indictment on him, but it's certainly I think it's clear that the organization feels like he still has some development to his game. And you heard it from David Quinn. You heard it from multiple members of the organization. He's got to continue to evolve his 200-foot game. He's got to become a better defender. I think when I watch him, you watch him, and it's just dazzling skill at times. I mean, he's walking guys he's walking NHL players in some of these preseason games. But then there's moments where there's a mental error, or sometimes I think what people get a little bit frustrated with him, and this goes back to his personality, because he's got a very kind of laid back demeanor to him. And sometimes he plays that way where you just want him to take it up a notch. You just want him to turn it up to the next gear. And we'll see if he's able to do that. I mean, again, you can't teach Ryan Merkley's skill. There's a reason why he was a first-round draft pick. There was a reason why he was talked about being drafted in the top 10. We'll see. I mean, this is a big year for him, obviously, and we'll see if he can take this opportunity in the American Hockey League and take it in stride. So far, I've been around him the first few days of camp. His attitude is great. He's not moping around. His lip isn't dragging on the floor.
That's good.
But he's got to, again, I think for Sharks fans and for the organization, they want Ryan Merkley to be in the NHL, obviously. But at this point in his career, it seems that they don't feel like he's quite ready to be a regular in the lineup. And again, it goes back to competition. And we'll see if he's able to kind of turn the corner.
God, he can't turn the corner fast enough for me. Ryan Merkley, come on.
Yeah, and according to Kevin, on one of those poor decisions that Nick had mentioned, Merkley actually got injured, which is hilarious. Well, not hilarious, but it's hilariously ironic. But obviously, shout out to Ian, Kevin for getting more Barracuda content going. I think that's awesome, and especially getting to talk to Nick, and I'm sure there's going to be a bunch more stuff coming out, and we kind of teased earlier in the summer, like, hey, like more content's coming to the site, you just don't know yet. Well, that's part of it. And so, big ups to those guys for sitting down with Nick. It was a good chat.
Yeah, and of course we appreciate Nick's time always.
Yeah, of course.
Good dude. But boy, when it comes to Ryan Merkley, it's just like, dude, Magna, Benning, Harrington. Like, how much of a red carpet do you need to make the goddamn big team?
I was gonna say he had picture it's 2:00 in the morning, and you're getting on to 87
on your way to Jack in the Box.
You're getting on to 87 at Taylor at 2:00 in the morning, and you need to drive all the way to Santa Teresa exit, and you're in a Lamborghini. That's the path that Ryan Merkley had to the NHL, and still found a way to not make it happen.
Blew a wheel.
Yeah.
Oh God. So, along with that, don't miss it. Check out Mark E's series on tealtownusa.com. He dove into the top 15 prospects in the Shark system. You'll never believe where Ryan Merkley gets listed. What is it?
You won't believe number 7.
Yeah. Is that enough BuzzFeed for us?
Hot young prospects in your area. Yeah, shout out,
dude.
Shout out to Mark as well. See, again, another new piece of content we're hoping to regularly roll out. So shout out to Mark.
What did you say?
Hot young prospects in your area.
Dude, that's going to be the title of next week's show. That should be the next time Ian and Nick and Lacey talk. That needs to be the name of it. Hot young prospects in your area. I love that. Dude, copyright that. Somebody jot that down. Anyway, coming up this week, the Sharks, of course, returning from Europe, which I believe they did so today. Tomorrow's a rest day, and then they're back at it on Tuesday. They have their home opener next Friday against Brent Burns and the Carolina Hurricanes. The Canes start their season this Wednesday versus Columbus, and, of course, are the popular pick to win the Metro. Following night, the Blackhawks will face the Sharks on a night that will honor former general manager and captain Doug Wilson. This game will be the third in 4 nights for Chicago after starting their season in Colorado and then Vegas. It should be noted there was an event planned for last season to honor Wilson, but obviously he bowed out for health reasons. And when it comes to I mean, polar opposites. Canes the pick to win their division. Blackhawks the popular pick to fight for the bottom with Arizona of the Central. So I don't know. Who do you think gets the start net for the Sharks to open this up against the Canes? Think you go back to Reimer?
Yeah, I kind of feel like, at least to start, I kind of feel like we're going to see the one up, one down kind of method. And then
whoever takes it.
Yeah, and then whoever's better after a month, maybe they get the shot. So yeah, and especially because it is another back-to-back situation. Mm. You know, you're definitely going to see both goalies. Who's to say what order? But I think I have my money on Reimer. Just because he started game 1 and then Kakkonen had game 2, so obviously you give him game 3. But also,
I look at it is that, you know, the competition is expected to be at one level between the Canes versus Chicago.
Right.
So
and
it's almost like not saying like, okay, we think you're the better goalie, so we're going to put you in against the tougher team per se.
No, and you know what, and you know, obviously you and I are both very high on Kaapo Kakkonen, and we think he should be the starter on this team. But I could see a situation where, you know, after the final preseason game against Anaheim, and then after his game against Nashville this weekend, I could see where maybe Kakkonen might need a bit of a confidence boost, and getting a win against Chicago could do that.
Solid point. Of course, with the opening weekend is going to bring a lot of changes. We showed you the scoreboard earlier. There's obviously going to be a lot more going on with that. I'm real interested to see what that's going to look like. There's always, besides the board, and will they have fixed the shadowing problem? You would think, because they're going to put some lighting underneath that board to help illuminate the ice a bit better, because that board does cast a pretty large shadow. New jerseys, new food and bev, the new opening night presentation. We're going to see the projection on the ice again. I hope so. And, of course, interested to see how Doug Wilson looks after being away from the team for a year. And I'm sure the welcome that Brent Burns will receive will be significant.
I wish I was going to this game, because the broadcast is going to be insufferable with the Brent Burns
love
stroking.
Yes. Game 7. Sorry.
Did somebody say Game 7?
So you can follow him at Hockey Jerk. You can follow me at AJ_Strong on the Twitter machines. Remember, again, leave your take in the comments section below on this YouTube video if you weren't able to join us live. If you've got any topics you'd like to have Jerk and I tear up, hit us up on Twitter at Pucknologists. We don't want to bother the Teal Town account with that, because then it's just everybody's phone starts exploding. Famous last words, Jerk.
Oh boy, what to say? I mean, we're 2 games into an 82-game season, and I'm already kind of feeling a bit exasperated. You know, if what we're gonna see in Game 1 is par for the course over the next 80, it's gonna be a tough season, but at the same time, to be a bit of an optimist, it's an important season nonetheless, for obvious reasons. You know, hopefully the young guys can play their way into the lineup, and hopefully the Sharks end up on one of the ends of the NHL schedule. Hopefully they make the playoffs, or are comfortably in a good position for a lottery pick. I don't want them ending up at like 12th overall. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And also too, shout out to the fans who went to the 2 Global Series games against the Predators, because I think, as I mentioned earlier, like, you know, the NHL putting on these really spectacular events, you know, I think there's room to grow, but I also like when the NHL sort of stages games like this in European markets. It gets more eyes on the sport, and, you know, it gives, you know, someone like Hurdle an opportunity to sort of be the center of attention, you know, get to play with his NHL team in his hometown in front of his parents, his son, his wife, family, all that kind of stuff. So just, you know, shout out to the fans for, you know, putting on a good show, both at the 2 Prague games and the game at Berlin. I don't know if you saw some of the videos that Corey and Sheng put out, but that crowd was lit when Berlin scored, and that would look really cool.
I can't remember the last time I saw an arena do the wave that hard.
I know, but they were all into it. It was awesome. They were, you know what? You have a couple drinks, you're having a good time.
As you say, get that sip.
I support it.
You know what? We kind of glossed over something that we should have covered, and that's on me. Any names that hit the waiver wire today that you would possibly be interested in? Because we saw a couple familiar names. Alex True got sent down to the minors. Chris Tierney. And just because they used to play for the Sharks doesn't mean they should return.
Right. No, there were a couple guys.
Matt Nieto's proved that.
Patrick Marleau has proved that twice. No, there were. I was looking at the list, and you always you kind of go back and forth with the waiver wire, right? Because on one hand, it's like, ooh, that's a good player. They need to get snagged up. And then on the other hand, it's like, well, they're on waivers for a reason. Yeah. I was, Juuso Välimäki, who was on Calgary, he was on waivers yesterday, and I was low-key hoping that the Sharks were going to pick him up. But Arizona ended up picking him up. So it's kind of,
Is he going to be...
even if they did put in a claim, it wouldn't have mattered.
Oh. I mean, you say he signed with Arizona. Is that to work the concessions or to actually play?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he's a good defenseman. He, kind of got brutalized by injury a couple years ago. He missed a whole season, but I do actually quite like him. I think, I don't know. I mean, there's so many high-profile names on this list. I mean, Emil Benstrom, who's on Columbus, he comes to mind. Good Euro player and kind of lost favor in Columbus. Oh boy, my cat just knocked something off the desk. She wants us to get out of here.
What an ass.
But someone like Emil Benstrom, who has shown good flashes but has kind of fallen out of favor a little bit. Maybe Chris Tierney if you're not overly fond of your center depth, but I don't know that it makes much sense at this point.
Right. Is there anybody that went unsigned that you were wasn't Sonny Milano still available or something?
Sonny Milano is still available, and he's a decent little player, but I just, at this point, he had a good season last year, and to still be unsigned, it makes you wonder if something else is there.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems kind of red flaggish.
So, I don't know. I mean, there's a couple guys where I'm like, yeah, that would be nice, but we'll see. I mean, if you want me to pick a name, it's definitely Emil Benstrom on Columbus. That's kind of who I'm eyeing.
All right, then. Well, if any of you guys are going to the games next Friday and Saturday at SAP, we'll see you there, or at least I will. And then same goes for the Barracuda home opener in a couple weeks. So looking forward to checking all the changes out and seeing what's new, what's different, and what's the same. And hopefully it's not a repeat of the Sharks that we saw over the... No, I'm kidding. It's all good. Dude, suck hard for Bedard, right? Just lean into it, man.
Many people are saying.
Lose entertainingly. It would not surprise me. This is going to be my famous take, or famous last word take, and then we're out of here. It would not surprise me if you start to hear fans, at least in certain situations, where Sharks fans, it's going to get to a point where if the opponent scores, they're going to be like, yeah, let those goals come in, man, Oh, but people are going to start wearing Bedard jerseys to the tank.
Jesus.
just lean into it, baby. So remember to subscribe on YouTube, follow us on social media. If you listen to the podcast on something like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, whatever, hey, do us a favor, help us out, subscribe, and leave a review if it's possible. You can find links to our social media and podcast apps and more in the included show notes. And as always, you can find everything on tealtownusa.com. But remember to check out our After Dark post-game shows coming up next week following the Blackhawks and the Hurricanes. God, that team scares the crap out of me. Landy, Puck Guy, and Ian are going to be going on those shows, so check them out next weekend. And then you got us again next Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific. So we thank you very much for watching or listening or hanging out with us in any way, shape, or form. All those who donated on the chat tonight, thank you so much for that. We really appreciate that. Good looking at. We love that. And anytime you can get in there with those fun questions and comments, we always appreciate it. So Enjoy the rest of your weekend, what is left of it, and good night, everyone.